A forest garden is a layered system of trees, shrubs, perennials and ground covers designed and planted to maximise beneficial species interactions and minimise competitive effects with the aim of growing a wide diversity of crops, mainly edible plants, but it could be plants for all sorts of other uses, including medicinal plants, also with the aim of achieving a very low input system, low energy input that is, and good output. Another way to think of a forest garden is as a diversified orchard. So in other words, you start off with your orchard trees, mostly fruit trees of course, and then you start to diversify. You underplant. So forest gardens have a very long history in the world. At least 14,000 years from Southeast Asia, probably much longer. In fact, when humans just interacted with forests, they would turn them into forest gardens. They would cut some trees, they would encourage others, and you'd gradually turn a natural forest, if there is such a thing, into a forest garden. It's a process of kind of co-evolution. But that history is mostly from the subtropics and the tropics. In the northern hemisphere, forest gardens have a much shorter history, about 40 years in Western Europe and North America. One of the things in these climates, of course, is we're further north, we're further from the equator, the sun doesn't get as high, we have to be much more careful with how much sun we let through to be able to grow plants between and underneath trees. So tree spacing is critically important here, and of course you can't put trees together so closely here as you could in the tropics. Another critical feature of forest gardens is that they're a layered system. There are layers of trees, from high trees if your system's big enough, smaller trees, shrubs, perennials and ground covering plants. So the resources, the aerial resources, the soil resources, they're all used very efficiently, much more efficiently than a single crop can ever do. Another key feature is diversity. Diversity is so important. That is how you get a resilient system, having a lot of different species in it. In this garden there are several hundred. In most forest gardens there are at least 100, probably more. In an era of climate change, what is damaging plants is not the gradual increase in temperatures, but the increase in weather extremes. Systems based on perennial plants and based on diversity are much more resilient. Another key feature of a forest garden is minimal soil cultivation. The soil is basically covered all year, if possible, certainly most of the year, by living plants. You have to remember that annuals are very rare in nature, and actually basing our agriculture on annual plants is in many ways very unnatural. Annual plants are not very sustainable. They're weak, they're susceptible to drought, they're susceptible to floods. Perennial plants are much more resilient. There are system plants. System plants are there to help the system function. They may not be crops for you at all. So comfrey, for example, here is a fantastic bee plant. It's also a very good mineral accumulator, making minerals available in time to other plants. Most people have fruit trees and fruit bushes in their forest gardens. That can include all the common fruits like pears here, but it can have lots of uncommon fruits as well. There are lots of different kinds of fruit trees from all over the world. There are nut crops, things like sweet chestnut here. There are also things like walnuts and hazelnuts, oily nuts with very, very healthy oils in them. There are herbs, not only to eat, but also to make the forest garden a lovely place to be in. Mushrooms are another fantastic crop, very suitable for growing in a forest garden. These are my shiitake mushroom logs here. Poles, canes, bamboos, for example, are a fantastic crop for forest gardens. Not only do you get the canes to use or sell, but also you get edible bamboo shoots. There are lots of environmental benefits from forest gardens. They sustain a fantastic range of wildlife. They sequester a lot of carbon as well into the woody mass of the plants and also sequestering into soil. Forest gardens are aesthetically beautiful places. They often have a semi-wild feel to them, even though they're cultivated. It does feel as though you're working with nature and are close to nature. Forest gardens are very efficient systems of production. By efficiency, I'm talking mainly about energy efficiency. You have to remember, annual crops take a huge amount of energy to grow. And that's because the further your system is away from woodland, the more energy you have to put in to maintain it. And digging the soil, cultivating the soil, takes a huge amount of energy. And in the long term, without oil, is it even possible? I don't know.